Sunny is releasing this month, in the next 16 days. Well, that aged like milk. So it's been a few months since I posted a video speaking about Sunny, and since then quite a bit has changed. As you may have guessed by this video's title, I've got a huge update to share, and I'm not going to waste any time getting into it. So one day, I was playing Doors with some friends, and admiring the game's visuals as I usually do, when I was suddenly struck by inspiration. I thought back to the relatively bland farmhouse that I'd built in Sunny, and realized that I could do much better. I found an interesting blueprint that I could trace, and brought it into Affinity Designer. One of the challenges that I had set myself for this build was to make some of the rooms less rigid and square by adding interesting corners and extra verticality to the house. This would obviously make my job harder, but would make the map look a lot more interesting and be more fun to play through. As I built this blueprint, it really hit me how tough this would be to build in Blender. This was going to be the largest project I'd ever modeled, and it would require a ton of meshes. Moving over to Blender, I imported the basement blueprint and quickly set up the basic shape of the room, then repeated the same with the first and second floors. As I began building the stairs, I suddenly realized something. Stairs suck to build. Even though the shape of the staircase was quite simple, trying to figure out how to make the walls, ceiling, and skirting boards line up and look nice is an absolute nightmare. But I eventually figured it out. Moving on from that, I began working on the front and back porches, adding a number of pillars and a small banister to tie it all together. I designed a small round table and a leather armchair for the living room. My modeling began to speed up, and within a couple hours I built a fireplace, a bathtub, a bookshelf, and my personal favorite, a toilet. Life-changing. One thing that I wanted to change drastically were where the keys spawned. Currently in Sunny, most of the keys were quite out in the open and didn't really require any effort to find. This, along with each key simply being tied to a locked door or a safe, made the game feel very predictable and boring. So I added a lot of drawers and cupboards where the keys could be hidden, and set the map up for more complex puzzles. These new puzzles would tie into the environment more naturally, and force you to pay attention to your surroundings a lot more. This change improves how the main gimmick of the game feels, and turns the game into a more stressful and scary experience. I built a few windows and designed a skirting board that I liked. I built a cabinet, a study, a bed and bedside table, and then moved on to the balcony, fashioning benches and a balustrade. Heading back inside, I started designing the kitchen. I based it off of old pastel kitchens from around the 60s, the bathrooms having a similar design. First off was a large corner shelf, then I built the fridge, and wanting to make it feel like a real kitchen, added lights and little light switches to make it feel more real. The sink was next. I wanted to make an under the sink cupboard, so I sunk the basin into the bench top. For the taps, I simply reused the ones from the bathrooms. I got to work on the cupboards and drawers. I added an oven, stove, and this cute little toaster. I went through all the rooms and added a few windows and rugs. One rug has a huge hole in the middle leading into the garage, so I made the rip bits hang over the hole, which I thought was a nice detail. I moved out to the back porch, and not knowing what to put here, just built a picnic table. It's a nice model, but I think it looked a bit out of place. If you have any ideas as to what else I could put on either porch, then tell me in the comments. Maybe I'll add your idea to the game. I went back inside and constructed a pool table for the games room. I put covers on the armchairs and then got to work in the garage. First up was the washing machine and dryer. Then I built some neat metal shelves and laid them on the floor. For the basement entrance, I decided to go for a storm hatch, as it looked more interesting, plus it was more of a challenge to build. I designed a nice hanging light, and as one of the lights was under the hole, I decided to have it hanging out of the ceiling by some wires. I needed to design a wall light, and ended up with this fancy light which matched the aesthetic I was going for. I wanted to design a series of paintings to spice up the map a little, so I built this nice picture frame and created a bunch of images to put inside them. Getting some more of the repetitive tasks done, I moved outside and quickly got stuck when I started building a roof. It took me a long time to figure out. Fast forward a little while and it looks pretty good. For the panic room, I simply put one of the garage shelves inside of it and added a few crates and boxes that'll have stuff in them in game. I also added a small bench where a safe will sit. Finally, I moved downstairs and started brainstorming ideas for the basement. I knew a few things that I wanted to build, such as the portal room and adding these rocky walls to the hallways. But after building the bench and the skirting boards, I realized I had no idea what to put in there. But then I had a great idea. I don't want to spoil anything, so I won't show what I ended up putting down here. I guess you'll have to find out for yourself. I inserted all the models and began coloring, lighting, and applying materials to everything. After doing this, I organized every mesh, of which there were about 1,600. And finally everything was done. Here's how it turned out. It matched up perfectly with the mental image that I had, and makes the old map look laughably bad in comparison. Now, there's still a lot of work to do on this map, but that's for the next update. I've got lots of great ideas for the gameplay. This video took over 80 hours to record and many more to edit, so I'd really appreciate it if you could give me a like. Remember to comment your opinion on the game and any ideas for the front and back porches. There'll be lots of exciting news about Sunny coming soon, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Geek out!